is water type.
Bro. I had Squirtle, bro, and bro, I was struggling, bro. Cause Squirtle learned Bubble Beam, bro. I was struggling. I wasn't struggling with this one though. Staryu,
And the only one you really have to worry about is Starmie. Who
yeah, Starmie. Oh my god, bro. This one was a pain. I just couldn't stand it, bro. And we got our Pokemon Red and Blue good 30 years later. But that shit is that, bro. Yo. Not gonna hold you. Not gonna hold you, bro. I had Pokemon Blue version, bro. I'm not gonna hold you. I wanted. Back then, I wanted them all. I wanted the blue. I wanted the red. I wanted, I think, the green, and then I believe it was the yellow one. The yellow one, Pikachu. I wanted them all, bro. I don't know. I always thought like if you like get like all of these, I always thought something was supposed to happen. Like something supposed to happen on the Pokemon Yellow, but I don't know. This is how I wore though. But let go.
Green and Blue are the original Pokemon games. To many, they're looked at as the best in the series, but to others, they're just relics of the past. So,
bro, it was the best, bro. This was the best. If y'all ain't had this, bro, when I was locked in on this game right here, bro. Pokemon was carrying, bro.
Recently, I replayed them to figure out if they're really that good. Before we got Pokemon Red and Blue in the East, there was Pokemon Red and Green available in Japan.
Oh, and then I remember I had Pokemon Pinball. I had Pokemon Pinball too, bro. Hey, yo, stop playing with me, man.
I don't know what we did wrong to not get the green version over here, but I guess this is fine too. Development began all the way wrong to not get the green version over here, but I guess...
Bro. I keep the mind clean though, bro. But hey... kid, bro. Cause I remember my partner, he had it, bro, and I ain't want him to, bro. I'm like, bro, when you gonna give me my Pokemon back, bro? Like, yo, I'm getting hot right now, bro. You better give me my game back, bro. Hey, yo. Oh, we got Gangu right. Okay.
This is fine too. Development began all the way back in 1990, shortly after Game Freak shifted from being a magazine publisher to a game studio. I can only imagine what would have happened if they kept making magazines instead.
Spare change.
Outside of being used to start small fires, the magazine industry has not...
Oh, see, I remember I had stuff like this too back in the day. You see, y'all just don't know, but I used to have stuff like this. And this is where him would caught me on Final Fantasy, bro. I'm like, yo, what is this? This was hard. Hey, guy, I was a young man, bro.
Not held up well since the 90s, so this change was probably for the best. But with Pokemon Red and Green not releasing until 1996, that meant that these games had a staggering 6 years of development time. Can you tell? And during this time, a lot of staff like Junichi Masuda had to work multiple jobs just to keep production afloat, while others had to just not get paid at all. But I guess they knew they had something special on their hands because they just persevered on. From its inception, Pokemon was set to do something unique, being the first single-player game to focus on a shared player experience. The whole point of the game was to collect, battle, and trade Pokemon with...
Bro, this was so fun, man. Hey, yo, man, bro, y'all gotta lock in, bro. If y'all ain't played this, bro, y'all gotta play it. This is the original, bro. Y'all gotta play the... Y'all just gotta play either Pokemon Red or Blue, man. Y'all gotta play it, bro. This is childhood memories, bro. Y'all don't understand.
People you knew in real life. Something that was only a fever dream a few years prior. Now, prior to release, the game guru himself, Shigeru Miyamoto, suggested releasing 2 separate versions as a joke, because he thought that was the only way it could ever outsell Mario. And they took this idea a little too seriously going forward. But finally, after a painstaking 6 years of development, Pokemon Red and Green finally released in Japan. And they did not sell very well.
I guess I'll just die.
By the time this released in 1996, most people were over the Game Boy. The console was...
Yeah, the game, yeah, people, I was still locked in on my Game Boy, but everybody was on Game Boy Color. I believe everybody was locked in on the Game Boy Color, and then I had a Game Boy Color. My partner gave me his Game Boy Color. I'm like, yes. And and then I think it came on Game Boy Advance and all that, bro. Yo, you know what I'm saying?
Was pushing 10 years old by this point, and the Game Boy Color and Light were still a few years...
See, I ain't had Game Boy Light. I ain't never had Game Boy Light, but I did have Game Boy Color there. That was dope too.
Away. So to get a new RPG for it was not piquing a ton of people's interest at first, but the game was still being sold, and it never stopped. At the time of release, this was the only Pokemon IP on the market. The anime, manga, and trading card game would still not.
Bro, this I need to stop pausing more, bro. I think I remember having this one. And then, bro, my cousin had the Charizard. My cousin had his Charizard. I traded him. I traded it with, I think I had a Gyarados. I had Gyarados, and I was like, yo, let me get this one. Fire spin, 200. Bro, we in.
Released for a while after. So the only way people heard about this was by talking to their friends and classmates. And what began as a small group of people playing at first quickly spread to every school in Japan. People couldn't get enough, but Pokemon Red and Green had some problems. The original sprites for a lot of Pokemon were somewhere between rough looking and completely horrifying.
Nah, I liked how it looked. Well, I guess it's Japan, but I like how this looked, bro. This what had me locked in.
There were a ton of bugs that could break the game and drive you into psychosis. And compared to a lot of other games that were releasing before this on the Game Boy, this looked a bit dated. So naturally, they did something that would definitely not become a trend going forward and released an enhanced version with Pokemon Blue.
Why get it right the first time when you can just sell it again?
They were already selling the same game twice, so why not add one more to bring in even more cash? Now, Pokemon Blue did fix a good amount of issues. The Pokemon sprites were redone to look better and give you less nightmares, some dialogue was fixed to make things more clear, and they fixed a good amount of the bugs the originals had. Not all of them, just some. So when the game inevitably got set to release around the world, they used this version as the template to make the jump overseas. But unlike last time where they just released the game and let people figure it out for themselves, now they had a plan, a simultaneous multimedia launch. When the Pokemon anime released in Japan, they saw a large uptick in sales the games were getting. So naturally, they wanted to make this a major point of focus for the global release, where the anime would come out a few weeks before the game's initial release to really build up that hype even more. And by the time the game released, people were already familiar with how the gameplay would work. It introduced them to catching Pokemon, battling to level up and evolve, and fighting gyms to get all 8 gyms.
Bro, I was so locked in, bro. Like, bro, I gotta collect all the badges, bro. I gotta collect them all. I will be the Pokemon champion. Bro, I remember back in the day when I was young, bro, I used to like, oh man, I just wish Pokemon just can come alive. Oh, y'all don't understand how bad, bro.
Badges. And though it released in late 1998, by the time 1999 rolled around, Pokemon had already taken over the world. You couldn't walk outside without seeing a kid screaming at their Game Boy, something that I still do in public. From the moment you turn the game on.
Bro, when I used to love watch this right here, bro. Hey, bro, this right here. I used to love to watch this right here.
It was deceptively simple, just showing the logo with red standing by a bunch of different Pokemon.
But mine was blue version.
When the game starts, you get to pick your name and your rival's name, something that I'm sure a lot of people are not going to take advantage of. And after a brief monologue from Professor Oak, you just begin your journey. You take your first steps out of your house and into Pallet Town. But when you try and leave, you're immediately stopped and yelled at by Professor Oak for trying to touch grass, so he
Bro, I remember Professor Oak, bro. I used to like trying to draw this right here too, bro. Oh man, it's crazy.
Takes you to his lab.
And we just trust this old man to actually take us to his lab? This game really was made in the 90s.
Once you're done getting abducted, you have to make one of the most difficult choices that any child has ever made, being what starter to pick. Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur were—
Bro, at first I had, I was trying to do Charmander. But then I got tired, and but really it was Blastoise. It was Squirtle I meant, bro. But back then people know I rock with Squirtle a lot. I was rocking with Squirtle heavily. Yo, sorry, buddy. Sorry, Bulbasaur. But yo, people know I was rocking with Squirtle heavily.
Are not only a perfectly balanced trio, being fire, water, and grass types, but they also served as a pseudo difficulty selection. With Charmander being a fire type, he was going to have a hard time with the first 2 gyms, but was great for the later part of the game. Squirtle does really well in the beginning and the end of the game, and Bulbasaur makes the early game a breeze, but the late game a bit of a challenge. But for most people, it came down to which one you liked the best, because
yeah, mine was Squirtle. It was Squirtle all day for me.
You can build your team around any weaknesses.
But bro, like Misty was so hard though to fight, man. Oh my god, bro. She had that Staryu, bro. Oh my god. But that thing was getting on my nerve.
later on. Once you pick your starter, your rival Blue picks his, which is nice because you get more choices, but it's also annoying because he picks whatever Pokemon counters you so he can kick rocks. This was a great way to teach players about type matchups as soon as possible. It didn't really matter at first because both of your Pokemon are so low level they don't know any good moves, but the further you get in the game, the more problematic this can become. Your rival will always have at least one Pokemon that hard countered you, unless you're—
I'm telling you, then he be leveling up so high, bro. I'm like, oh my God, I can't stand this Joker. I think he had a Gyarados too. Then he had a Gyarados, bro. Just get on my nerve, bro.
a psychopath and didn't use your starter.
I don't need this Charmander anymore. That's it, boys. We got him.
I can only imagine the kids that did this are in prison now, so we can all live in a safe society. The early game was short but sweet. You did have one fetch quest to go get Professor Oak his mail from Viridian City, which was annoying, but it gave you the chance to figure out how Pokemon battles and wild encounters would work on your own. But once you deliver it and get your Pokedex, your journey really begins.
It just straight to the point, bro. It just get you straight to the point, man.
First real dungeon of sorts, if you can even call it that, is Viridian Forest, which is full of trainers and weak bug-type Pokemon. It was pretty simple. It had a few pass through where you can either fight trainers or take your chance in the tall grass. It was simple, but it was a good first challenge to get you to a new city where along the way you could catch new Pokemon and diversify your team. Most of the Pokemon here are bug types, but if you're lucky, you may encounter a Pikachu, which is a
Oh, see, I forgot about that.
great way to reward people who
I knew it was something that if you call. I remember, bro. I knew it was something. But yeah, it was a Pikachu.
stuck around and explored as much as they could. Once you get to the other side,
Like, bro, I be like going like I be doing mine. I be going like right here. I don't be going all right here. I be like trying to find a car. I remember I had found one, bro. Like, oh, a Pikachu, bro. Yeah, bro. Y'all just don't understand.
though, you are then faced with your first gym challenge against Brock and his rock types. Now this could either be an absolute breeze or a really difficult battle. If you picked Bulbasaur or Squirtle, Brock was going to evaporate immediately. But if you picked Charmander, you were going to have a harder time.
I mean, not really, cause you got the buzz, but I guess at that time, most of probably didn't really like knew like that. You know what I'm saying?
The early selection of Pokemon was pretty limited, with most of them being weak to rock types or just weak in general. Mankey is exclusive to Pokemon Red, but unlike in Fire Red and Leaf Green, is not available until well after this gym. Now Nidoran is an option, but for some reason, which is probably just to see me suffer, it doesn't learn Double Kick until level 43. So your best bet is to either grind your Charmander into an absolute tank or get a Butterfree and just spam Confusion. Luckily, later versions do fix this, like Pokemon Yellow and Fire Red and Leaf Green. But good team building is a key point in any Pokemon game. And having a first gym that ranges so—
Sandshrew, bro. Oh yeah, Sandshrew are hard, bro. Sandshrew got me all the way through some things too, and on Diglett.
so much in difficulty was wild. I can't be the only person who was a kid who picked Charmander, realized they were mentally and physically weak, and restarted their game with Squirtle.
I was weak then. I am now too, but still.
Now that I'm a grown man, I can somewhat muster up the courage to pick Charmander, but I have to hate myself a little extra that day. Brock's gym is really simple, it's just a few trainers and Brock. I can't imagine anyone getting confused going through this, but once you beat him, you get your badge and you can make your way to Mount Moon, and it doesn't matter who you picked, this is going to be a pain. There was a noticeable spike in difficulty because not only is it decently long, you were also never
this cave right here. Oh my God, bro. This cave used to get on my nerve, bro.
safe. You would take 2 steps and immediately get swarmed by every Zubat in a 12-mile distance.
I'm telling you, bro, that cage right there was a pain, bro. I couldn't stand I couldn't stand going to the cage part, bro. I'm like, oh my God, bro. It just get on my nerve, bro. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, maybe if I get walk on the edge, like close to the edge, maybe I won't get pretty much hit with Zubats and other Pokemons and this thing.
And even if you were prepared to get violated by the Bat Brigade, there were still a ton of trainers who were going to ruin your day. There are between 3 and 7 trainers on every floor. Now you don't have to fight them all, but they will try and get to you first. I swear that half of these trainers already know I'm coming because every time I walk past, they will turn and then turn me into a victim. But outside of trying to make you cry, Mount Moon does introduce some key points in the game pretty early, mainly Team Rocket. Now, they're not really doing
I
much
forgot about
besides
Team
looking
Rocket.
around for Pokemon fossils and just genuinely being the worst, but especially for people who were watching the anime, it was nice to see them so early on. Towards the end, you get to pick between the Helix fossil and the Dome fossil, which are just going to take up space in your bag for the foreseeable future, and when
I forgot about that right there.
you finally escape, you get to go on to Cerulean City. This is home to the second gym and some more goodies that make this really fun and memorable. Now, if you picked Bulbasaur or had a Pikachu on your team, you were gonna be fine. Misty uses water type,
Bro. I had Squirtle, bro, and bro, I was struggling, bro. Cause Squirtle learned Bubble Beam, bro. I was struggling. I wasn't struggling with this one though.
and the only one you really have to worry about is Starmie, who
Yeah, Starmie. Oh my god, bro. This one was a pain. I just couldn't stand it, bro. Oh my god, y'all don't understand, bro. Y'all just don't understand. Y'all just had to be there, bro. Struggling. I'll never forget how many times I lost to her with my water tour. Yes, I had a water tour. When Squirtle evolved into water tour, I had that, bro. Y'all just don't understand the frustration, bro. Y'all really don't understand.
who can be a pain but is also really not that big of a deal. If you picked Charmander or Squirtle, you were going to have a harder time, but there were
Bruh, I was struggling with her. You don't understand how bad I was struggling with her with my water tour. I hope I say her name right. I was struggling bad, bro. That Bubble Beam wasn't here.
some grass types available that would make this a little bit easier. Misty's gym is a little bit more complex than Brock's, but nothing that's going to make you want to snap your Game Boy in half. The other main activity in the area is the Nugget Bridge, where first you have to battle your rival, who has grown a good amount but is still pretty easy.
Yeah.
And then you have to fight 6 trainers who are each a little bit stronger than
the bike games, I believe.
the last. Now this is more of a test of mental endurance because you can go back and heal as much as you want, but once you beat all of the trainers at the end of the bridge, you're given a nugget and a pitch to join Team Rocket.
Hey, great battle. Have you ever considered organized crime? Dang, I'm sold.
I can't imagine this was their best salesman because who's giving out free money and then just giving a light sales pitch? At least make me sign a contract. Now once you get to the end of the route, you get to meet Bill, who somehow put himself in the body of a Pokemon.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Do not let this technology get into the wrong hands. For helping him get his body back, he gives you 2 tickets to the SSN. And of course, not being able to pass up a free cruise, you get to go to Vermilion City. To get there, you have to take an underground tunnel because the guards are too thirsty to let you into Saffron City. The city had been taken over by Team Rocket.
And then it had like a Snorlax, bro. I remember that Snorlax was like blocking the path somewhere. I don't know.
But of course, the beverage was the #1 priority. But once you get to the boat, you take off and go on a short cruise to crush everyone's hopes and dreams. I remember the SSN being far more difficult than it really is. And it's gotta be because I just was not healing enough before. You're given a room that has a bed, which heals your Pokemon like a Pokemon Center would. And having this means there's really no reason why you shouldn't battle every single trainer on this boat.
So like I battled them, then I go back and regress and save. That's how I do it. After I get done battling them, I save it, then I go rest, and then I save it again after I rest. I don't care.
It's free XP that you're going to need at some point, so why not get it now? There's about 20 trainers and a solid variety of Pokemon that you'll have to battle. But the most important battle is the one at the end against your rival, where you get to beat him into the ground and send him off to pout. You then get to go talk to the captain, who is seasick and somehow talks you into giving him a massage.
Hold up, I need an adult.
You're playing as a 10-year-old boy. There is no reason a grown man should ask you for a massage in any instance. Though for your good deeds, you're given the HM for Cut. Why am I being punished for helping? HMs were needed, I get it, but do they need to suck so bad? Cut is a terrible move, but if you want to progress in a lot...
I mean, I low-key didn't like it. I ain't gonna lie, I low-key didn't like it. I always thought it felt like it was useless to me. But you definitely do gonna need it, like like what he just did to cut through like some of these trees and stuff. So yeah.
Of areas, you have to have it at all times, which means that one of your Pokemon is just going to have a weak move just so they could wall off some content until the time is right. You need it to access the 3rd gym, which is led by Lieutenant Surge. This is the first gym that introduces a puzzle, and I really hope you like digging around in the trash. This is horrendous. The puzzle itself is straightforward. There are 15 trash cans and inside 2 of them are switches. It should be as simple as hitting a button, hitting the second, and then going to fight the leader. Easy, right?
Wrong.
If you get the first one and then miss the second one, the whole puzzle resets. Now, if you have a big brain, you could just save it and then reset it until you get it right. The thing is, I don't. So when I was young, I would just sit in this gym for far too long, fighting for my life. The battle against
See, I think I save it then.
Surge wasn't too bad. His Raichu could be a bit of a pain, but Diglett Cave was a stone's throw away to make it a non-issue. But once you were done, you could go
You got that bike, the bike. See, the bike came in handy, bro.
back to Cerulean City, use Cut again, and make your way to the Rock Tunnel.
Ow.
Now, Rock Tunnel is where a lot of people would lose their minds. If you thought Cut was bad, let me introduce you to Flash, an HM that is used one time in the entire game. To get it, you have to go all the way to the other side of Diglett Cave, which was a decent reward for exploring somewhere that's not technically required. But even when I get it, I still don't want to use it. You either have to get rid of a Pokemon's useful move to put this in, or
that part used to get me, bro. Like, man, I don't want to get rid of this one because I like this attack.
bring on a new Pokemon just for this one cave. I would rather just be blind. When you're done roleplaying as Stevie Wonder, you get to enter one of the most iconic locations in the game, Lavender Town. The Pokemon Tower is a massive grave site for the entire Pokemon region, which is both sad and creepy. The tower is full of ghost-type Pokemon and trainers who need...
I love this town right here, bro. That when I got my Ghastly. And I think I found a Hunter there, too.
...to be put on a list. Now, what made Lavender Town more memorable than any of the other areas...
The sound, too. The music, the sound...
is that you had to come back here more than once if you wanted to finish it.
Well, to me, it was the sound.
Once you get to a certain point in the tower...
Oh, see, I forgot how you do this right here.
You're visited by the Ghost of Christmas Past. So you need to figure out a way to get past it, which brings you all the way to Celadon City, home of one of the best parts of this entire game, gambling.
Oh, bro, this right here, bro, I remember that, bro. Bro, I mean, I had hit jackpot on that thing, bro.
Not allowed to play these anymore because apparently I'm tearing this family apart.
At this point, the game starts to open up and gives you a lot more options of what to do than before. There's the game corner, which is definitely not a front for organizing.
Oh yeah, and if you walk, you'll find like money. Like I be spamming the A button, bro. Like every step, I take one step. Like, I'm spamming the A button, bro. Y'all don't understand.
Crime, the department store, which has a ton of rare items, a free Eevee, and finally the beverages the gate guards so desperately need but can't go get for themselves. The big events here are the Grass-type gym led by Erica and the Rocket Base, which is under the game corner. I think this gym is one of the easier in the game. Most of the trainers have pretty basic teams, and by this point you should have one or two Pokemon that can counter them pretty easily. There's a puzzle, but this time it's far easier than whatever Lieutenant Surge had you doing. There's some trainers and trees to cut down, and the biggest crime here is that you have to fight a couple Bellsprout, which is depressing, but I guess the ends justify the means. The real challenge here is the Team Rocket hideout. The dungeon itself wasn't horribly challenging, it was more so long and confusing. It had 4 floors being full of puzzles and grunts that were going to annoy you. To get in, you have to go into the game corner and talk to a Team Rocket grunt who is longingly staring at a poster, and once you do, he'll berate you for trying to look at it too. Then you can enter and go through the floors looking for items and battling Team Rocket like God intended. The main gimmick here is the spinning tile puzzles, which are interesting. You step on a tile and are immediately...
Bro, this right here was okay, man, but I couldn't stand it sometimes, bro. I ready to get this part here over with, man. I tried to get that, I got that, but man, I couldn't stand it. Oh wait, what? I think it was I forget what it is. I got this, I don't remember, bro. But this right here was bro, y'all don't understand, bro. This was getting on my nerve right here.
Immediately Beybladed at 100 miles per hour into another tile. The fact that Red can survive this proves that he is the strongest Pokemon trainer for sure. After you're done getting Whiplash, you can finally come face to face with the Team Rocket boss, Giovanni, and his team of surprisingly weak Pokemon. He has an Onix, a Rhyhorn, and a Kangaskhan, which are all pretty easy to get through, but once you beat him, he escapes and you get the Silph Scope as a prize. The Silph Scope allows you to identify ghosts so you can take it all the way back to Lavender Town and the Pokemon Tower and figure out what's been blocking your path this whole time. Turns out it was just Cubone's dead mom. That's incredibly sad. You get to tame its spirit and send it off into the afterlife, and doing so allows you to access Mr. Fuji. who brings you to his house and gives you the Poke Flute, which allows you to wake sleeping Pokemon that lie in your path.
Yeah, Snorlax, bro. I was so, bro, when I got that Poke Flute, I was so happy, bro. I was so happy that I finally wrote this Snorlax up, bro.
There are 2 separate locations in Kanto with sleeping Snorlax that completely prevent anyone from getting by.
Bro, y'all don't understand, bro, how much I was, bro. Y'all didn't understand. It was like peak right here when I'm like, yes, I finally got him away.
I don't understand why they never did anything about this, but it does give you the option to catch 2 Snorlax, so I guess it's fine. Once you're done getting trauma bombed in Lavender Town, you get to move on to the end portion of the game, which has more freedom than ever before. On paper, you're supposed to go to Fuchsia City, battle Koga, do the Safari Zone, and get Surf, or you could just not. This is where you begin to have options, as you can also go to Saffron City and battle Giovanni and Team Rocket again, and then fight Sabrina and her gym before ever going to Fuchsia City. Now, you definitely should go to Fuchsia first, as it's easier and the intended way to play, but you do have the option, so I took it. Saffron City got taken by Team Rocket because they wanted control over the Silph Co building. They make glasses that allow you to see ghosts. I'm sure they can do a ton of other things too, so Giovanni wanted to take it by force. This is by far the largest dungeon in the entire game, and I would rather do this whole thing than ever step foot in Mount Moon again.
I'm telling you, bro.
There are 11 floors, and you don't have to go to them all, but it's definitely worth at least checking.
I do them all just to level up my Pokemons, bro. So, bro, ever since I've been beating my opponent, bro, yeah, I had to step my game up, bro, cause he was putting that work on me now. So that's why I was like, bro, I gotta upgrade, bro. I gotta level up bad all my monsters.
Out some of them to get the extra items and XP. To get from one floor to the other, you can take an elevator, but most of the time you're taking these tiles that teleport you to a specific floor. Most of the struggle here is figuring out what tile to go to and when, and though the first time I did this, I was stuck for an embarrassingly long time, now that I've done it a few times, I can get through it without crying my eyes out. There was a lot of fluff here that could have been trimmed out, but honestly, I'm glad they didn't. This is supposed to be a massive technology company, and having this many floors full of things to find made the building feel alive. Other games have buildings that are skyscrapers with only 2 or 3 accessible floors, but there were a few rooms you never had to go to, but if you did, you were rewarded for doing so. At the end, of course, there's another battle with your rival because he's just everywhere before you, and then you get to have another showdown with Giovanni, who this time actually has a decent team. Once you beat him, you get one of the most iconic items in the series, the Master Ball, and you get access to going to fight the next gym with Sabrina.
I use my Master Ball to catch a Mewtwo.
Sabrina's gym is full of psychic types, and I've already started to pray. One of the biggest problems with Gen 1 is that psychic types were strong enough to make me soil my linens. Due to Pokemon stat
Slowbro, bro. Slowbro was a little challenging for me, bro. He was a little challenging, bro. I'm not gonna hold you.
Distributions, a lack of good bug.
His defense was so strong, but yeah, I also ain't had a Thunder type, so you know.
Types with actual moves and no therapists who will listen to me complain about it, I have suffered more than my fair share in this gym. The layout is decently simple, borrowing the tech from Silph Co where you have to teleport from one room to another. I'm sure there's a good way to do it, but I just keep stepping on tiles until I eventually get to Sabrina. And her team is pretty rough to say the least. Having this many psychic types to fight back to back can just ruin your day, but once you come out on the other side a changed person, you're pretty much through the worst. If you haven't already, at this point you need to go down to Fuchsia City, which not only has a Pokemon gym, but it also has one of the most iconic locations in the Pokemon series, the Safari Zone. No matter how many times I've done it, Koga's gym is always such a drag. The first time around is pretty cool with invisible walls that make you feel like you're sneaking around like a ninja, but going back to it, the invisible walls and poison typing are both really annoying. In Gen 1, you're limited on how many items you can hold. So if you want to be safe and bring antidotes, you have to fight your inventory to have enough space, and I can't think of anything more fun.
Never mind, this is better.
There were so many poison types in Gen 1, but for some reason half of these trainers are just using Drowsy and Hypno, because apparently there just weren't enough psychic types for you to deal with. But once you're done with Koga, you're tasked with finding the Safari Warden's golden teeth, which requires you to travel all the way through the Safari Zone to get them while using a limited number of steps. I don't know why I have to keep doing tasks for strange old men, but at least it's not a massage. The Safari Zone is one of the most iconic locations in the series because
I think with this one I catch me a Kangaskar. Yo, at first I think I had threw a rock at it and it ran. Like, damn. Bro, I was struggling trying to find this thing again, bro, but I got it though.
It changes the way that Pokemon battles are done entirely. You go in by yourself, so it's just you versus whatever wild Pokemon you encounter. You have the option to throw balls, bait, or rocks at
Bro, I've been throwing a rock, bro. I threw a rock at Kangaskar, bro, and that thing ran.
Pokemon. Bit of a wild choice there, but having the option to run
See? That Kangaskar, bro. Saw that Kangaskar, bro. I threw a rock at first. The Joker ran. But then that time, I threw bait. And then I threw a rock. But then I threw another bait. Then I threw a Pokeball. And I managed to catch it. We're like, yes.
The wild Pokemon like Scyther or Chansey always made this such a thrill, even though most of the time they would just run away immediately and drive you a little insane. At the end of the Safari Zone, you're given 2 HMs, being Strength and Surf. I still don't like having to use them, but at least these are somewhat useful. And after spending
I love Surf.
Arguably too much time in the Safari Zone looking for specific Pokemon, you can finally set your sights on the next location, being Cinnabar Island. Now, getting there can be a challenge on its own because just like any cave, the water is always trying to get you. The trainers and wild Pokemon are pretty persistent, but once you get there, the small island has a lot to do. There's the Fossil Lab, which finally lets you take that rock out of your backpack, the abandoned Pokemon Mansion, and of course, the Fire-type gym with Blaine.
Please don't ask for a massage.
Before you can even challenge the gym, you have to go all the way through the Pokemon Mansion, which is a weird dungeon, but I still do enjoy it. It's pretty basic with 4 floors where you need to flip switches to open doors at specific times. Somehow, I still struggle with this. There's a good amount of trainers.
I was having fun with this one right here. And then I couldn't wait to fight on the gym leader right here because I had my Squirtle. Well, my Blastoise now.
Fight inside like burglars and scientists who mostly use fire, electric, and poison types. But the thing that sets this apart from any of the other dungeons is how much story there is to find. There are books scattered around discussing how Mew got discovered and then gave birth to Mewtwo.
Not gonna hold you, bro. I just scanned through them. I didn't read not one of them.
Gross.
And how Mewtwo himself became too powerful to control. The best part about this is at the time, there were a lot of people who had no idea that Mew existed. Of course, there's a glitch that allows you to obtain him, but back then, most people's best guess on how to get him involved some sort of sacrifice. So to hear that this creature created Mewtwo made kids around the world go insane. Once you're done in the mansion, you can finally go do Blaine's gym, which has the unique property of being a quiz. Most of the questions are pretty straightforward. For example, does Caterpie evolve into Butterfree? No, it doesn't.
Let's make sure that we're all really reading these questions.
This question caused me genuine pain. Now, technically, yes, Caterpie eventually becomes Butterfree through evolution, but it evolves into Metapod. This question made me wonder if I had ever played a Pokemon game before in my life. I was sitting in front of my Game Boy thinking,
wow, maybe I am illiterate.
Then, of course, there was also, are Thunder moves effective against ground element type Pokemon?
Bro, I know I had put, I forget. I think I put the wrong answer. Yeah, I put the wrong answer.
Yup, that confirms it.
This was just a poor translation, so it's not that big of a deal. They fix it in Fire Red and Leaf Green, and I'm glad they did, because if they didn't, I would have had to start a fire. Blaine and all of the trainers inside use Fire-type Pokemon, so at this point, it should be pretty easy because you have at least one Water-type Pokemon because you had to use Surf to get there. And with that,
I had my Blastoise. Oh yeah, and my Gyarados.
Being your 7th badge, you are now able to make it.
But see, the easy way to make your Magikarp evolve is you put your Magikarp first, and then like once the opponent like what's called it Pokemon, you return the Magikarp, so you can get that little extra. Yeah, that's cheese. It's cheese, but bro, it's a win. That's a win. I always use Magikarp for like go Magikarp. Yeah, I return Magikarp. Go Blastoise. I do that with every one of them, bro.
Back all the way to the final gym being in Viridian City. I've always liked that the journey comes full circle, where you go back to the first town that you ever visited to finish your gym challenge. The final gym leader is finally back, and his gym is full of cool trainers and black belts.
Wow, I bet this guy's gonna be so cool.
The trainers in the gym have a variety of Pokemon, being mostly fighting, poison, and ground types. I guess nobody likes to stick to a theme here. And once you finally get to the end, the gym leader is revealed to be Giovanni.
Look, I can be cool too.
Having Giovanni return to be the final gym leader made beating him again even more satisfying. You've already battled him a few times, but now it was for something else completely. Unlike the trainers in his gym, he uses ground types, and since you have Surf, it's really not.
Yeah, see, I use my what Diglett involved second form Drio. I use that Earthquake. We got it.
Not that big of a challenge, but it's still a satisfying conclusion where he officially disbands Team Rocket and proceeds to flee the country. But of course, you don't get to celebrate for long, because as soon as you win, your rival comes around the corner trying to assault you. You get to beat him again and finally make your way to the final dungeon of the game, Victory Road. This being the first Victory Road is easily still one of my favorites. It is a 3-floor maze full of strength puzzles, high-level Pokemon, and a ton of trainers who want to make you cry. The main puzzle has you pushing boulders onto switches to open block paths. It's not a hard puzzle, it just takes a while because pushing boulders takes a long time. But during your pain and suffering, you can at least find a Moltres, which is pretty neat. When you finally get to the other side, you can heal and mentally prepare to take on the Elite Four, the gauntlet of 5 trainers who you fight back to back. The typings are pretty diverse. There's Lorelei and her ice types, and Slowbro because they needed more psychic types, Bruno and his fighting types along with 2 Onix. I don't get this one, but it's fine. Agatha with her ghost types, and because there was
I can't stand out her ghosts, bro.
Only one
But they were so easy to beat though.
line of ghost type Pokemon, some other purple Pokemon, and of course Lance, who has a similar issue but gets a pass because dragons are sick. And the final battle is against the new champion of about 30 minutes, your rival.
What? I never saw that coming.
Even as a kid, seeing your rival be one step ahead of you for the entire game, it was pretty obvious he was going to be the final challenge. But that doesn't make it any less sick. Just like
that bro, the sound was the background music sound thing, bro. It was beautiful. I loved it, bro.
Giovanni.
It's something. Hey yo, y'all just had to be there.
You have to keep battling him over and over without any real stakes, but this time it was the championship on the line, so it was personal. And once you beat him for the last time and become the champion, it feels even better. The story in the first games wasn't anything crazy, but for the first game in the franchise, it was done perfectly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. Y'all had to be there, bro. Y'all just had to be there to play this. This was peak to me.
Team Rocket is a normal underground villain organization that is just trying to gain power over people and Pokemon. The rivalry between you and Blue was one that felt substantial, not only because he was a jerk, but because he always had an advantage, which made it so whenever you faced off against him, you felt like an underdog. The region itself was still fun to explore, even if the amount of HMs drove me up a wall, but one of the biggest things that made Gen 1 so memorable was how simple it was. The games were called Pokemon Red and Blue, and last I checked, those were colors.
These are words.
They went with the simplest possible naming convention to make people like me be able to understand what they were playing. The games did have simple names, but that theme was carried through the entire region. Town names like Cerulean, Lavender, and Vermilion were all just fancy words for different colors. And starting your journey in Pallet Town just cemented that theme even more. Outside of the names, everything else was really simple too. A lot of people look at the original 151 Pokemon as the best of all time. And one of the main reasons for that is that they are simple. Now, I am someone who enjoys the modern Pokemon designs just as much as these, but looking back, there's a good reason people like these other than just being blinded by nostalgia. Now, nostalgia is absolutely a big factor for a lot of people, but looking at this lineup, they were inspired by some pretty basic stuff. Oddish is a turnip, Zubat is a bat, and Muck is sleeping outside. The designs were easy enough to understand even with the limited power the Game Boy offered. You could just look at a Pokemon and have a pretty good guess of what type they would be. There were some obvious exceptions like Charizard and Gyarados who both deserve to be dragon types, but you didn't have to pull out a data book and skim through to figure out that Dhelmise was not a water type. The sprites definitely look a little dated because of their age and the hardware restrictions, but most of them still look really
And
good.
I always like the little glitches. It looked like it'd be doing like some little glitches. I love that, bro.
It's just that the ones that were bad looked really bad. Golbat looks like a felony, Tentacruel has too much attitude, and Drowsy looks like he's a predator. But what easily makes up for it though is the beautiful art by Ken Sugimori that made all of these Pokemon and trainers look fantastic.
This thing already, yo, if you look real hard, this somehow remind me of Yoshi's face. I'm just saying.
This could easily be me wearing the nostalgia glasses, but something about these designs screams Pokemon, more so than any of the designs we got in later games. But the number one thing that made Pokemon so incredible during this generation was the sense of discovery. People were excited to go to school or see friends to tell them about what they were doing in the game and share how much progress they made. They wanted to show off their teams and battle and trade with friends to see who the better Pokemon master was. A ton of RPGs at the time had more intricate battle mechanics or better looking worlds. But this was the first one that made sharing the experience with friends a focal point of the adventure. In every school, you had kids brokering deals for trades to get version exclusives like their lives depended on it.
Listen, John, something just came across my desk, and I'm talking a legendary trade.
I think a lot of the kids who ended up trading like madmen ended up becoming criminals, but I don't really have evidence to back that up. The dual release made this so you were unable to complete the game by yourself, which if you were someone like me, that was devastating, but it did help build that sense of community they were going for. Pokemon Red and Blue were great first games. The simplicity made them memorable. They don't draw out the tutorial and teach you everything you need to know. They encourage you to go out and explore and learn on your own. The gameplay was just a more complicated rock, paper, scissors, but it was just complex enough to keep you entertained. But with this being the first game in the series, it does have more issues than most of the other games do. In the early game, up until about the SSN, there is a good amount of grinding you need to do to be able to compete at all. And I can see a lot of people being turned off of the idea of having to fight 1,000 Weedle. There are the classic issues like the Psychic type being broken, the shallow move pool, and the stat distribution that made this hard to go back to because it's so different than any of the games that came after it. And of course, there's also all of the bugs, some of which are great, like missing No and
bro, I loved it, bro.
getting access to Mew, but others like Focus Energy being completely broken and Ghost types just not working on Psychic types at all could be far more annoying. But even
I
with
love Psychic Beam.
the issues, Red and Blue
But Psychic Beam did seem kind of like weak though.
can still be a lot of fun. There are a fair amount of annoying things that you have to put up with, and at first I had a hard time coming back to it due to its age, but it's still a Pokemon game. The battling is great. If you do them at the right time, the bugs can make the game even more enjoyable.
Yeah, I love the bug game, bro. I love like all the weird stuff on there too, bro.
And Kanto is always fun to explore, even if they've done it to death. Now, if someone wanted to play Kanto for the first time, I would say play Fire Red and Leaf Green, because not only do they fix a lot of the issues, they also just hold up better and have additional content that make them a better package. But I still think Red and Blue are good. Sure, they have problems, but so does every other game in the series.
Did you hear they announced a new Pokemon game? Wow, really? Is it a new generation? No, it's Kanto again. Aw, come on!
And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Yo, I was rocking with that, but you already know. League of Legends, now they can still let go.